change my little scooty little booty on the bottom tooty Twitter logo, but that's okay. That's okay. We're keeping it small and squished today with Slow News Day shows Steve Poikonen. And Steve has also just launched his own Rokfin channel. So we're going to get into Rokfin as an alternative platform. For those of you that are supporting me on Rokfin, thank you so much. For those who are just following me on Rokfin, awesome. Now's the time to go to rokfin.com/slow news day show because we need other platforms. I've been completely demonetized on YouTube as of 2 weeks ago with no repercussion for harmful content, and I don't believe that I've produced any harmful content. But hey, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder. Steve Poikonen is with me. How we doing, good sir?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good. I got a pinched nerve in my hand that sucks, but other than that, I'm doing all right. I also co-host the Free Assange Vigil series, which you've been very, very supportive of and have come on many times. And we had a barn burner of a vigil last night with Ray McGovern and Elizabeth Voss. It was high test and informative.
Action for Assange, by the way, that's how they can support you still. Actionforassange.com with the number 4.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing group, amazing website. I love the vigils. I think you guys go live Tuesdays and Thursdays now at 9 o'clock.
That's correct. And Saturdays at 1 o'clock Eastern as well. We try to pull in overseas guests for that.
Which is awesome because I know a lot of people are kind of losing themselves in nothing but coronavirus coverage because they're anxious to get back to work. They're anxious to see when things are going to open up again. They're anxious to see what the future is. And you guys, importantly, have really stuck to your guns on these very important free speech issues and continually pointed out the hypocrisy of the amount of low-level criminals, sometimes murderers, child molesters that have been let out early from prison. And yet, Julian Assange still behind bars, Steve.
Well, and this is the thing. The UK government's official position for why Julian Assange has to stay incarcerated in Belmarsh Prison, the Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom, 23 and a half hours a day on lockdown. Their official reason, Jason, is, well, we can't let him out because we haven't convicted him of anything yet.
America the Beautiful, Steve. That's what I'm thinking.
Look, and that's the other thing. The judge in his case, or at least the magistrate that oversees all the case management hearings, Vanessa Barrester, she is little more than a concierge for the U.S. State Department. Now, we are seeing just a complete and total breakdown and mockery of the rule of law.
Now, as a refresher course for my newer audience that we've gained that maybe wasn't paying attention to this because, you know, they came in for the coronavirus information, let people know how many people have successfully defended themselves in the illegal court that they're trying to bring Julian Assange into.
0. None. The Eastern District of Virginia Court, Espionage Court, has a 100% conviction rate. The jury pool is made up of people who are either related to or are familiar with members of the intelligence community. The judge has basically framed herself as a hanging judge, and they're there to make examples out of people. And Julian Assange is the penultimate example to be made right now. The biggest press freedom trial in our lifetimes, Jason, is set to go into its second phase in London on May 18th.
And do you think that court date is going to be upheld with all the madness? That's the next thing. Are they going to postpone this further? Are the lawyers going to need more time because maybe they haven't been able to do their due diligence with all this? What do you think is going to happen in that regard?
I sincerely hope that they don't follow through and begin the second round of extradition hearings on the 18th. It has been impossible near impossible. I should be clear about that. For Julian to have communication with his attorneys because they're in, special lockdown protocols because of the coronavirus. Now they know how dangerous it is, so they're not letting him see his attorneys. They're not letting him have regular visitation, but yet they can't see fit to slap an ankle bracelet on him and let him do some pretrial diversion under heavy supervision.
I mean, even that should be too much. I mean, let's be honest. Let's throw out the nonsense. Let's throw out the debauchery. Let's get past this idea that freedom of speech is illegal, that we should not be exposing war criminals. And that kind of brings me to the news of the day that was really the news of yesterday, that the media did their best to censor for as long as they could. So people couldn't realize there were 25,000 emails, basically email addresses, that are usernames and the passwords that were in the digital ether for anybody to go in and then scrape that content. Now, the thing is, though, Steve, and remember, folks, make sure you're checking Steve out over at Rokfin.com. Follow him just like you're following me. And completely demonetized on this platform. Want to throw that out there. Well, Steve, according to Counterintelligence Strategy 2020 to 2022, unfortunately, Steve, people that might access this information, well, I would imagine that they would be on the same level as Hezbollah, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, and they would be ideologically motivated entities such as hacktivists, leaktivists, and public disclosure organizations. Because God forbid you get an email from a corrupt individual in a corrupt organization and you make that public and it goes against U.S. interests, Steve. That sounds like terrorism.
It absolutely does, and they've started to rephrase national security to the national interest, making it a little bit more soft, making it a little bit more all-encompassing. And while they're doing that, throwing this soft verbiage at it, they're piling on the draconian punishments and the just spurious fucking, excuse me, and they're just piling on how the different kinds of people that fall under this rubric of what is terrorism. The thought that a public disclosure outlet is the exact same thing as al-Nusra or Al-Qaeda or ISIS is so goddamn cartoonish. It's hard to believe, but that's where we're at. It's where we're at in 2020.
And that's why I think that platforms like Rokfin are important. When you have Susan Wojcicki, or Wojciechowski, however you say her, of YouTube, basically saying, if you go against any information that the WHO is putting out via coronavirus, we will just take it down. And remember, this is the same organization at one point said there was no human-to-human transmission. This is the same organization that has never pushed back on the official Chinese numbers, even though they doubled like that in a day. Magically, we're doubled in a day. Just, whoop-a-da-doo, wicka-dicka-dicka-doo, like it happened. And, this is an organization that was part of that tabletop exercise, Event 201, with the CDC in China, their counterpart in America, Johnson & Johnson, NBC Universal, the World Bank, the National Institute of Health. And a lot of those organizations, lo and behold, had their emails and passwords released. Now, you have to ask yourself, Steve, with the release of the Red Dawn emails just about a week and a half ago that had already been vetted by the New York Times, I would think there's a possibility that the same entity is responsible. They have scraped the data from all of those emails that they had in a quick fashion and now released those emails to the public to have plausible deniability if they in fact want to drop some of the contents of those emails. Now, at the same time, there's going to be a lot of hoaxing. What are your thoughts on the actual emails, the meat and potatoes that are going to come out of this? And can and will the United States start labeling people that maybe accessed these email addresses, these accounts, as hacktivists, leaktivists, and public disclosure organizations?
Well, if you remember, when the Podesta emails were released through WikiLeaks, there were a handful of different mainstream news commentators that would tell you it's illegal, against the law, to go to WikiLeaks and look it up and see the information. So I am positive that we're going to see a redo of that. And I have no doubt in my mind that if you are already on a governmental shit list, you have the possibility of being labeled a leaktivist or a public disclosure outfit. We were discussing after the vigil last night whether or not we wanted to do an entire show going through these, and we haven't reached that conclusion yet because we kind of want to know where we stand, and we don't. It's too vague right now.
You know what? Again, I'm not going to access somebody else's email address because right there you could be labeled as, impersonating. There's a slew of charges right there. Now, again, if I'm part of an organization and maybe I'm not in the United States and maybe the laws are a little bit different, and I have the opportunity to just kind of go in and scrape everything and not even just go through it and then maybe do keyword searches, etc., and I find some levels of corruption or foreknowledge or profiteering that shouldn't be there, I would hope that reaches the public. That's what we need. We need to hold these organizations and their minions accountable, and we need to be able to publish that information. And that's the other scary aspect of this, to kind of bring it back to Rokfin as a platform and why we're streaming live on Rokfin as well right now. Remember to go to rokfin.com/slow news day. And remember, you can follow me. It's all for free right now at /Jason Burmis. I do an exclusive live one on Tuesdays at noon, live stream, free for anybody. You can check it out. In fact, my exclusive video is right there. It's the Kim Jong done during COVID 1984 video, still free for everybody. And the thing is that we need to prop things like this up because I can't share counter information about the WHO without not only the possibility of being fully demonetized like I have been, but them taking my channel away. Just deleting me because I was ahead of the WHO on the fact that this thing was a bioweapon. I said it. And what's even scarier is those platforms like Twitter, Steve, they censored anybody who shared the paste bin link very quickly. The mainstream media did not report on this when Jason Burmis reported on it. And I was a little bit behind the curve because these things were hacked at 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning. There wasn't a mainstream media story out there until probably 6 a.m. today. Giving them a full 24 to 30 hours to contact those people and hopefully have them, again, lock up their email addresses.
Yeah, I mean, they were in panic mode and damage control for the better part of a day and a half. And you know what? Honestly, fuck them. Because if there is corruption in those emails, and I guarantee you that there is foreknowledge and insider training in those, and that's a pretty safe bet too, then yeah, you are absolutely right, Jason. We have the right to know that. We have a right to know who in our government or how many of these unelected, nationless, stateless, soulless bureaucrats, if not planned this out, at least were not surprised when it happened.
I agree 100%. And again, for people to realize this, when I saw this and it was finally trending, Bill Gates, WHO, 25,000 emails, they were saying allegedly still, but I don't think there's anything allegedly about it at this point. It's as legitimate as it gets. But when they're behind the curve, again, by a day, and then the USA hackers that started publishing this stuff out got suspended almost immediately. You should know they're still trying to control the narrative. And right now the narrative, Steve, is that because the only place that didn't censor those paste bin links were the Chan boards, it's neo-Nazis that are sharing conspiracy theories about Bill Gates.
What else would it be? I mean, it's not as if there's a post-partisan contingent here in America that would like to proliferate factual information, it's got to be the fucking Nazis. Who else would it be? The way that 4chan and 8chan have made themselves both targets and victims, and just it's kind of comical, only because that's where Q lives, and Q is a delusion on a mass scale. So you're gonna see some overlap with the Q-lusional people and the discovery or the release of this information. But no, I mean, there's a number of people that are post-partisan, like me, like you, that would like to be able to report on this without getting our livelihoods taken away.
Yeah, imagine that. That sounds funny.
Imagine that. I would say every time I go live on YouTube, I'm demonetized. I have to, go through the manual review process. More often than not, they don't give it to me because I'm having people on like Whitney Webb, like Jared and Elizabeth Beck, people who are considered to give dangerous types of conversation that is just verboten in the land of YouTube.
And let's talk about that, because even today, right, let's talk about some media-created narratives where the media is outing the media. What do I mean? Well, let's look at Epstein, for instance. Remember, the Epstein case really starts in 1996 from Maria Farmer talking to the NYPD and the FBI. And then there isn't any kind of an arrest to do with that. He's not arrested until 2008. Now, the media spin was what? That ABC had the story 3 years before the arrest, right around the same time that James Patterson put out his novel, Filthy Rich, and there was a little bit more information out there about Epstein. So that, look, it proves they were hiding the story 3 years ago. No, they're still hiding the story because they don't want to tell you about Maria Farmer and the fact that Les Wexner is the head of the snake. They don't want to tell you that the Filipino women that worked on Epstein's properties were stolen women. They don't want to tell you that there were hundreds and thousands of victims that these people saw personally, and they can't find them anymore. Only 30 or so have come forward. They don't want to tell you a lot of facts about these cases. They don't want to tell you how Courtney Love's father has said, and remember, Courtney Love was in that little black book, that some of them weren't lucky enough to make it, and they were taken out to the desert and buried. And he had that New Mexico ranch, which has never been searched. Never been searched. Bill Richardson has never been questioned about his relationship with Epstein and the allegations that he is a pedophile. These should let you know the cover-up crew is still 100% in full effect, Steve. And the narratives that are being built are still out there, and that's why Whitney Webb's important. That's why this medium is important, so we can get a person like Maria Farmer to really be able to tell her story to the public.
And where's the media with Maria Farmer? Where's the media calling for, a raid of the Zorro Ranch? Where's the media when it comes to actually doing the basic functions of journalism? It's out here in the wilderness. It's here on Rokfin. It's nominally on YouTube. There's some good print outlets, or I guess online print outlets. And Whitney's transition over to Last American Vagabond, they do great work over there. But we really kind of are in the wilderness here. So it's important to have these conversations. It's important to get people onto these alternative platforms, because once YouTube decides to put the hammer down, there goes free speech on that platform.
And it's already a platform that's rife with contradictions, wholly owned by not only a big tech conglomerate, Google, Alphabet, but one that is in bed with NASA and the NSA. I mean, you look at Google and NASA, and you look at their modern day quantum computing program. You look at the introduction of artificial intelligence, and then you realize, wow, the big banks like Goldman Sachs are invested, and people like Amazon and Bezos are invested too, and Bezos is handling everything during COVID 1984. Don't worry, Amazon's here to help everybody. Steve,
It's just a
where
it's just a fucking dystopian nightmare, man. At least we got jokes though.
I got jokes, kid. I'm trying. People are like, how do you even laugh about this? Or they try to accuse me of being sensitive when I'm talking about body counts and topics. And unfortunately, it's because, this subject matter is just the darkest of the dark. It's kind of funny. Today, my big highlight, Steve, was I got two in the mail. I got them from separate places, right? But in the mail, never before seen, I got volumes 10 and I got volume 8 of the Bohemian Club Annals. All right.
Really?
I did. So I actually have a huge collection now. I have I think there's 11 annals now. I've got 6 of them. Okay.
Nice.
I need 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm looking through this one right here. And you know what? Not to open it up, because I'm going to save that for other for another time. But you know what? Actually, I think it was one of the first pictures that caught my eye. So let me see for a second. And I took a picture of. Yes, here it is. So I've got this one posted over at Twitter. But this is as far as I know, the earliest picture of their depiction of the owl god. This is one of their plays where they took the Buddha that they had and they kind of reconstructed around it. Now, a couple of the gems that I've found in this already in the second one, they always talk about how Satan's not involved in the cremation of care, and anybody it's just a play and there's no ritualisticness to it, and there's a lot more that really alludes to the execution of quote unquote dull care. And if you check it out, this is from 1910. This is the Lost Angels camp. Okay. And if you read underneath, it says, remind us not that we alone have been barred, or from heaven have been debarred, so they can't go to heaven. Bohemian Grove, Monte Rio, California. And if you look under the owl, you have the ram's horns or the goat's horns, or maybe even Pan, depending on how you think about it. And the two women on the side, kind of like that hermetic symbolism with the lost angels. The other one that I thought was extremely interesting is when they are talking about the cremation of care, you'll notice that Edward Hamilton as Satan for the defense of care. And George Bromley as the Druid High Priest. Now, from my original collection here, I want to say this is my earliest one. This is 4. I have, and this is from the turn of the century, guys. I have Bromley in here. It's pretty wild. Like, let me see if I can find them. So, when we talk about macabre humor and stuff like that, I'm into the history of it as well. And when I find things like this that kind of go through that history, there he is right there. There's High Priest Bromley. This is 100 years old, folks. And there he is. There's the High Priest, George Bromley. So,
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not ABC or NBC News that's doing that kind of work. They're not looking at, if I can get them, the media could get them. They could talk about these things. And, a lot of it is fun and games, and a lot of it is, being in a club, etc. But a lot of it does have occultic overtones of giving up your care, your soul, for what things you have done over the past year, and then burning those cares. In fact, they even talk about their membership as their version of the middle class. Like, because again, there's a quote in there about their version of the middle class, because they have artists, they have the members that are part of the symphony, they have the attorneys, the lower level business people, the people that are in government, etc. To that, they are the middle class. Those 3,000 people are the minions of the actual predator class. That's why you saw Reagan there. That's why you saw Nixon there. Eisenhower even, to these guys, they are the middle class that are running that
And
show.
and Bob Weir and Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead are Bohemian Grove members.
Yep.
And when you ask Bobby about it, he gets this like really weird, kind of nervous look on his face, and then answers with like, "Oh well, yeah, that's just. I mean, where else are we going to go to reach that audience?" Are
There's
you
some really good
kidding
stuff
me?
in there. Steve, weird times. What's the next step in your state, do you think? Do you think you're going to be one of the states that comes off a lockdown? I mean, I doubt it. You're in Northern California, one of the counties, right?
Yeah.
What's it looking for you?
Well, they just made wearing a mask outdoors mandatory. And we're in this weird kind of transition period. They're talking about making a West Coast sort of district with California, Oregon, and Washington. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, although our governor, Gavin Newsom, has been referring to California as a nation state for the last like month. And it could go a couple of different ways. We could possibly buck the federal government and do that Cal exit that people have been talking about for a number of years and form our own fucking Hunger Games district. They're doing something similar on the East Coast with the New England states and Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania has the coal and the natural gas. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I honestly hope that here's what I hope. I hope that if lockdown is lifted, it's not just so people can go and die in order to make some CEO able to buy a boat that he can park inside his other boat. Like I hope that there's a genuine seriousness about, I guess, bringing us back into normalcy or everyday life that and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but that has the public's best interest in mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good. I mean, I don't know how that's going to happen, but because they're never in their best interests. And I think that you're right. You have to open up society in a way that you have treatments for these people. You know what I mean? Period. And not like a mandatory vaccine, not a ventilator that's got 80% chance of you dying on, but something real. And you have to give people the thing is that, again, why these emails are important is that the establishment has propped up Bill Gates. They've propped up the World Health Organization. They've propped up Johnson & Johnson. They've propped up the National Health Institute of Health. And if this is going to expose them for the monsters they are, it's further going to discredit that media that propped them up. And hopefully, through those cracks, the legitimate solutions will be found.
I couldn't agree more. And I honestly think this is a perfect gift for us to collectively withhold our labor. If they're going to be like, oh no, just go back to work. Yeah, we don't really know what's going to happen to you. We don't know if you're going to be okay or not. You might come home and kill grandma, but you need to generate us some income. Like, we can withhold our labor at that point and go on a nationwide general strike until we get some goddamn agency.
Well, we'll see what happens. Steve, he is at rokfin.com/slownewsday. What are you posting over there, Steve?
As often as I'm able to. The vigils are keeping me pretty busy. However, this Sunday, Friday, I'll be sitting down with Green Party presidential candidate Dario Hunter. Sunday, I'll be sitting down with Libertarian Party presidential candidate Adam Kokesh. And on Cinco de Mayo, I am going to be sitting down with John motherfucking McAfee.
Oh, very, very lovely. Cinco de Mayo. What a better time to be there with the McAfee himself. Steve, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll get together in the coming weeks. And tomorrow, 9 p.m. over at Action for Assange. Check them out on YouTube. And you also restream that on your YouTube channel as well, correct?
Yeah, and we also stream it through Rokfin.
So yeah, Rokfin. They've also Action for Assange is over there. Thanks again, Steve. I really appreciate you, brother. Steve Poikonen, everybody. Guys, I got the GoFundMe, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Really trying to hit that marker of the 5K every month now that I've been completely demonetized from YouTube. Not allowed to make money on that platform. Make sure you are subscribed, thumbing this up. We're going to retry, right? We're going to try to bring this to attention that we're just reporting the news, that we're just reporting independent views, that we're just putting out the documents and giving a real world perspective on them. Remember, you can follow me over at Twitter, where you can find gems like these pieces of the Bohemian Grove Annals, never published, at Jason Burmis. And folks, remember, make sure you're at least following me on Rokfin. We go live here noon every Tuesday. Super Tuesday is what I'm calling it, for free. So you just have to follow. You don't have to pay. If you want to pay the $9.99, great. You get all the premium content, and you get everybody's premium content, including people like Graham Elwood, Ron Placone, Nico House, The Convo Couch, and others. So also remember to check me out on Minds. I'm over there as well. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.